Alright people, what's up? So originally I wasn't really gonna bother with making a video about this because everybody else has already had more than their say on the issue. Then I started seeing some activity on social media and I kind of wanted to approach this from a different perspective. So the other day, Microsoft made the announcement that they were going to close several studios, two of those being support studios. Then in addition to those was Arcane Austin, which were the developers of Prey and Redfall, as well as co-developers of Dishonored 1. And then also Tango Gameworks, which they developed The Evil Within 1 and 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Hi-Fi Rush. Now, out of those two studios, I have much more of an affinity for Tango Gameworks because I really enjoyed The Evil Within. I absolutely adored Ghostwire Tokyo, and I had a lot of fun with Hi-Fi Rush. So I've played all their major titles that they've released, all exceptional games. Great studio. And I was really excited for the fact that they were the only studio under Microsoft's umbrella from Japan. It was kind of interesting to see what they would be cooking up and what they'd be coming up with, because it's a little bit different than everything else that's going on with Xbox. And we all saw that very clearly with Hi-Fi Rush and with Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo is a very different type of kind of quasi-open world game from everything else that Microsoft has released. And then Microsoft makes the announcement they're closing them down. So I'm more tore up about Tango Gameworks than any of the other studios. I enjoyed Redfall. I had some fun with Redfall. I have not played Prey. I have not played any Dishonored games. So I don't know anything about those, but Redfall was fine. I played it after the 60 frames patch was added, so I have absolutely no idea how the game worked originally. But after they added that patch and added all those quality of life improvements, I thought it was serviceable enough. It didn't abuse my time, and I really enjoyed the city. I thought the city and the town was really cool to explore and check out. So I really don't have any complaints on my time with Redfall. So in a report to Bloomberg News, Jason Schreier had an article, and he attached a little tweet, and the tweet with the little preview or whatever on the article says, Xbox Head of Studios Matt Booty wrote in an email to the staff that we are making these tough decisions to create capacity to increase investment in other parts of our portfolio and focus on our priority games. Not clear yet how many jobs will be lost. I remember seeing a tweet from Aaron Greenberg from like last year, and he was talking about how Hi-Fi Rush exceeded their expectations. So everybody's like, okay, well, everything's going fine, going good. I don't think any of us are gonna kid ourselves. I think that we kind of all assume that bad things are going to happen to Arcane Austin just simply because of the performance and how Redfall was handled. But as far as Tango Gameworks, I mean, all their games are relatively well accepted. Hi-Fi Rush was exceptionally well accepted. It has like a 90 on Metacritic. So this really came out of left field. And so it kind of has me wondering, what exactly is the preferred method of engagement from Microsoft? And so there was this tweet earlier by this guy, Alan Feely, and he said, Brad Hildebrand, an ex-Microsoft EA guy, sums up Bethesda Studios closures well here. So if we open up this image, he says, there are two reasons why all these Bethesda studios close, and neither of them have anything to do with Bethesda directly. Game Pass and Activision. The biggest paradox with Game Pass is that basically every game that launches on the service it badly misses its sales goals. Makes sense though. Why pay full price to buy a game when you can play it for free as part of your subscription? This is accounted for somewhat by attributing portions of revenue and targeting Game Pass games every month, but here are factors that working against games. Namely, the fact that most games don't stay at the top of the chart for more than a month or two, and also that Game Pass growth has stagnated. So games like Hi-Fi Rush, which is incredible mind you, gets a very small bump in revenue from being the hot Game Pass game for the month, then it falls off a cliff when everyone moves on to the next thing. Poor Redfall had it even worse since it launched so rough it never even had a chance. The system was fine for a while when Game Pass was growing like gangbusters, but now it's slowed way down and the amount of revenue it's attributing to games isn't keeping up with the budgets to make them. But all that wouldn't have mattered even 3 or 4 years ago, because back then Xbox was basically a rounding error on Microsoft's books. The division made some money, but more importantly, it didn't cost that much, and other parts of the business easily covered the gap. Then Xbox went on buying spree and spent a lot of money on Bethesda, but orders of magnitude more on Activision. Now the Eye of Sauron is turned, and Xbox is expected to start making that $70 billion back, or at least cut expenses to the bone and then some while they try. That brings us back to Game Pass. So far, the big bets on driving new subscriptions, Redfall, Starfield, haven't spurred near enough growth, and there's not much on the horizon that likely will restart the momentum. The best bet is Call of Duty. But do you risk the guaranteed sales revenue that franchise brings by putting it on Game Pass on day one and potentially lose massive sales? I don't know what the plans are, but either you put it on Game Pass and lose money, or you don't and subscribers revolt because they think that's what they signed up for. Call of Duty will be fine though, as with all the other mega studios with huge IPs, but you're seeing the impact. All those smaller studios making really interesting games are going to fall away, simply because as good as games like Hi-Fi Rush are, they're never going to make enough money to make up the $70 billion hole that Xbox now has to dig itself out of. So I left a response on that, and I just simply stated, does Microsoft expect us to pay for Game Pass and buy the games on Game Pass as well? Like, what is Phil's suggestion for us? How am I supposed to play your games? And this is the thing I want to know. What is Microsoft's preferred method of engagement for us? Like, what are we as gamers supposed to do to keep the lights on at the studios? If there's a studio and I really like their work, does Microsoft count higher a purchase, or does Microsoft count higher the engagement on Game Pass? Mind you, they keep on drilling everybody Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. It comes to me like Microsoft doesn't want us to buy the games. They just strictly want everybody on the Game Pass train, and that's it. But to me, that doesn't make much sense though, because, I mean, as you saw with Hi-Fi Rush, apparently it didn't sell enough copies. It's like, why would I buy the game when I'm already paying for the subscription? That doesn't make any sense. Like with music, I don't engage with Spotify because I buy my albums physically. I purchase my albums. So I don't have a Spotify subscription. Why would I? That's stupid. So in this case with Xbox, my method was, well, I'll just get Game Pass, and that way I'll just play the games as they come on, and that's the end of it. And as far as PlayStation, Nintendo, I still buy games from them, but with Xbox, I just engage with the platform mostly through Game Pass. I mean, if something's not on Game Pass, I really want to play it on Xbox for whatever reason, I buy it a la carte. That's fine. But like with Dead Space, I bought Dead Space on Xbox Series X because I have all the 3 original Dead Spaces on 360. So I thought that'd make more sense. As I said, like when it comes to Game Pass though, I'm not really getting bent out of shape on whether games get dropped or added or that kind of thing, because I'm like, whatever. It's like Netflix. I'm just here for the ride. Just wow me with some stuff. I'll play it while I'm here, and that's the end of my relationship. So anyway, so I post this. I've gotten a whole bunch of replies. This guy says, in my opinion, they need a 90-day window before putting a new game on Game Pass service. That way they can get sales and eventually releases on Game Pass for the subscribers. And Kid Smooth replies and says, I agree. 90 days and do trials on new releases offer up to 20% off each game with the sub. They can fix Game Pass and sell games if they make smart adjustments. This guy, he says, you can't have everything for free, you know? I'm like, I'm just asking which one, buying or Game Pass sub. I shouldn't have to do both to make sure that the studio lights stay on. One is clearly the preferred method of engagement by Microsoft, so which one is it? What are we supposed to do? What do they want us to do? And this guy says, they want both. You try the game out on Game Pass and then buy it if you enjoy it. And then this guy responds, nobody will do that. Why buy a subscription to try games? The only time someone will buy a game that they play it on Game Pass is if they truly want to support a specific game studio. This guy says, that's a big problem. One of the biggest arguments I hear about Game Pass is it's an affordable way to play games. The people who got Game Pass for that reason will most likely not also buy the game on top of the subscription they are paying for. To top it off, the version on PC Game Pass, for example, can't be modded. What I did was pay for a month of Game Pass, try the dozen or so games I'm interested in, then cancel and wait for Steam sale, then buy them from Steam. Well, I guess that's one way to do it. It's like, I'm gonna play this game on Game Pass. If I really like it, I'm gonna buy it on PlayStation. And this guy says, I doubt they expected is it coming to Game Pass under every game release. And that is a truth. Anytime Microsoft makes any announcement, there's a flood of people going, Game Pass? Game Pass? This guy says, in a perfect world, Game Pass would be there to try the game, then we buy the game to support the studios. However, that was never going to happen, especially in this economy. This guy says they want you to buy it now. I guess. This guy says, would be a simpler way for Microsoft to manage financial expectations that way. Can keep day one for a lot of games, but the big budget ones, maybe look at extended trials and 15 to 20% discount, rotate games on Game Pass more frequently. Day one games should be maybe limited to 8 weeks on Game Pass. This guy says, if I got 15 to 20% discount on day one AAA games because I was a Game Pass subscriber, I'd be pre-ordering the heck out of everything. This guy says, my guess is it will revert to what PlayStation has, a nice ever-changing deep selection of games as part of the service, but big AAA will stop going in day one. They'll be added later, 3 months to 6 months later. It's got to be at least 6 months so the game can see some revenue. 6 months is usually when games start going on huge sales drops. This is really what it should be. Launching day one is nice for players, but not if it's self-sabotage. And yeah, I could see that too. I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to that. Heck, when Starfield came out, I pre-ordered it digitally so I could have early access to it because I was that amped to play Starfield. So I mean, for some games, I have gone above and beyond out of my way to add those pre-play perks. I think Starfield was one of them. Elden Ring was another one. This guy says, it would seem like yes. They want you to do both. This guy says, I think the original plan was not everyone can afford a $70 game each time a new one releases. So this is a way for those people to also give Microsoft money to play those games. Issue is that the people who can't afford it jumped on Game Pass too and it started cannibalizing game sales. Microsoft tried to tap into low-income market and ended up hurting its regular sales in the crossfire. And I said, the impression I've gotten all along is that Phil and the bigwigs don't want you to buy games at all. To me, they seem to all want the entire installment base on Game Pass and that's it. He responds, that seems weird to me. I feel like there's no way Game Pass makes more money than all that individual $70 game sales. We also don't know what the overall numbers are either. This guy says, that's what I do. The games I play on Game Pass I enjoy. I buy them from the Xbox Marketplace just in case I decide to no longer support the service. I will still have access to the game. This guy responds, you are Microsoft's ideal customer, but people like you probably are a smaller percentage of the fan base. I mean, a good solution would be to completely do away with exclusivity and have first-party games released across all platforms, but have the draw be that they're day one on Game Pass. People who prefer PlayStation or Steam aren't going to not buy on their preferred platform. And then a couple of these show extra replies. How about 20% discount to Game Pass subscribers? More incentive to buy the games at launch if you play a Game Pass subscription day one. Two problems with that. One, they already offer a discount for people subscribed to Game Pass. Two, why would I buy a game if I can play already on Game Pass? This guy says they already offer a discount. Yeah, we all know that. This guy says, if you're an Xbox only player, then you're screwed because you can't do anything to improve your situation. Opposite to what Xbox fanboys have been saying for years, console sales do matter. And as long as the Xbox Series X are not selling well, there won't be increase in Game Pass and Microsoft will be angry. This guy says, if you ask the average Xbot, yes, they will say, do you like the game, you buy it as well as your subscription. So yeah, there's all the replies to my tweet. I thought was kind of interesting to kind of go through theirs. But as I said, I'm just really not sure what the actual intended method of engagement from Microsoft is. Do they actually literally, like, when they're mapping all this out in the boardrooms, are they expecting us to subscribe to Game Pass for $15 a month and then buy every single game that we like and enjoy off Game Pass? Is that literally what they're expecting? Or are they expecting us to just simply pay Game Pass and that's it? Or are they expecting us to buy all the games we want and only the poor people have Game Pass because they can't afford games anyway, and it's a way that they get engagement across the board? I mean, what is the actual preferred method of engagement? Just so we can be sure that the lights stay on at, you know, all of our favorite studios and they don't get shut down. It'd be nice to know what exactly do they expect from us, the customers, to do. I just wanted to make a video because I thought this is kind of a different way to approach the Microsoft closing the studios conversation, because it's more or less what are we doing about Game Pass and what are we supposed to do about Game Pass. But I guess that's all I have for today. So thanks for watching and peace out.